If there's one thing that any new person who becomes my friend will learn very quickly, it's that Final Fantasy is my favorite game series of all time. The music is incredible, the worlds and conflicts well thought up, the characters have incredible depth. 9 times out of 10, the games feel more like playing through a book. Final Fantasy VII is the very reason I figured out that I want to be a game developer. All because one day in January of 2021, I saw it was on sale in the Nintendo eShop and decided to check it out. I was hooked within the first hour. I had never played a game like it before. I owe so much to that game, and it will always remain one of my favorites. However, that's not the game I want to discuss today. As much as I love Final Fantasy VII, amongst others in the series and other games by Square Enix, that is not the game that holds the title of my favorite entry in the series. Instead, that award goes to Final Fantasy XV, the game that, despite its troubled development and scattered pieces of lore across different translations, books, animations, and cut content, proceeds to hold my heart. At some point, I would love to do a video discussing the timeline of Final Fantasy XV and some curious pieces of lore, and some of my theories on the matter. But this series here is to do something different, to analyze one of the best things about this game: the characters. Final Fantasy XV has a unique story, even whilst just looking at the main party. Noctis, Ignis, Gladio, and Prompto have been friends for ages before the start of the game. This isn't an RPG where you slowly meet each of the characters as the game progresses, letting the party go from unfamiliarity to a close-knit found family that faces down the potential end of their world. Instead, they've already known each other and are best friends. Ignis as Noctis' advisor, who has been by his side since childhood. Gladio is Noctis' sworn shield, and Prompto is someone who longed to be friends with Noctis for ages, but only recently got the courage to do so when he was happier of who he was and how he looked. These four are insanely compelling, and I could go on and on about them for ages. In this little series, I intend to cover each of the major players of Final Fantasy XV, starting today with Gladiolus. Next is Prompto, then Ignis, and the last two will technically be a two-parter, as I don't think I can discuss Noctis without discussing the main antagonist, Arden, and vice versa. This series will cover spoilers in the game, and I'll be honest when I say I don't know every single detail in these games. If I miss things that are cut in development or were in different translations, I do apologize. But without further ado, let's get started on the analysis of Gladiolus Amicitia? Does anyone know? It's never actually been. I don't think his last name's ever been said in game. But either way, let's get into it. Chronologically speaking, we first see Gladio in Final Fantasy XV Brotherhood Episode 3, the episode entitled Sword and Shield. This episode, much like the others in this little animated series, covers the backstory of Gladio and Noctis' friendship. We already know that Gladio is from House Amicitia, which has led the Crown's Guard for many generations and has been employed to guard the various kings of Lucis as their sworn shields. But this short shows us a different side of that and a different side of Gladio compared to what we see in the main game. The episode starts out showing that Gladio is in charge of Noctis' training, and finds the young prince to be quite stuck up and spineless, even going so far as to say that he hates him despite his job as the future King's Shield. That is quite the difference compared to how we see the two interact in game. But we do see that Gladio isn't all rough around the edges. Despite his disdain for Noctis at the time, we do see that he cares deeply for his younger sister Iris and is grateful when Noct takes the fall for her, taking the blame when it was Iris who wandered off after a cat in the first place. From then on, the two grew closer and closer as they trained and grew up together. We see in game that Gladio is still a bit gruff nowadays, but he has a heart of gold. He's loyal to the party, loyal to Noctis, and honestly loyal to the kingdom of Lucis as a whole. He had once hoped to lead the Crownsguard and takes pride in his role as the chosen king's sworn shield and as a member of the Crownsguard itself. He changed his tune about Noct between this animated short and the main game, and frankly, I love just seeing how ready these two are to trust and rely on each other. It's a great bit of character establishing, and I really like the Brotherhood animated series for adding that. Now that we have the foundation of how Gladio operated as a character in the past, how does he interact with the rest of the party now in game? Well, he is obviously the protector, a guardian, a living wall. He throws himself between a perceived danger and his friends without a single moment of hesitation. It doesn't matter if that danger is a lumbering beast that charges at the party.
Wait a sec.
What? Scared, big guy?
You ought to be too. Thing's vicious.
Sure. Looks tame to me.
Yeah. Look out!
Yeah! Show him who's boss!
Nice one. It's not over yet.
The High Commander of the Imperial Army.
Guys?
Long has it been, Noctis.
Ravis.
You receive the storm's blessing, and yet you know nothing of the consequences.
Watch it.
Be still, all of you.
Not good.
Heir to a crown befitting no other. Witness his splendor and glory. All hail the chosen king.
Awful high and mighty for an Imperial rat, serving the enemy to hunt down Luna.
I do not serve, I command! The king's sworn shield.
You better believe it.
A weak shield protects naught.
Hey!
Or even something as minor as someone who's overly suspicious tossing a coin to Noct.
And what's your story?
I'm an impatient traveler, ready to turn ship. The ceasefire's getting us nowhere.
What's this? Some sort of souvenir?
They make those?
What? No.
Consider it your allowance.
Huh?
Yeah. And who's allowing us?
A man of no consequence.
Yeah, right.
He wants to keep the rest of the party safe and is willing to put himself in harm's way if it means the others will be okay. Aside from that, we see he's a more serious member of the party, often playing the straight man to the shenanigans that the rest of the party get into. Though, much like Ignis, who holds a similar place in the group, he will often join in with the banter. He seems to lean a lot more into the tough love side of things, chiefly seen in the path to the fight against Titan as he manages to knock some sense into Noctis.
Endless walking.
And I'm sick of your endless whining. Calm the hell down.
Get off my back.
Are you a man of royal blood, or aren't you?
Of course I am. I couldn't forget it if I tried. What about it?
I ain't saying that you've forgotten, but you gotta know something. You're not the only one who's having a tough time. We're all on edge. We Amicitia are the king's sworn shields. Guard the king with our lives. That's the way it's always been. I've embraced my duty, and I take pride in it. When you can't focus, I focus for you. It's my job, so let me do it, all right?
All right.
Other than that, we also see that he loves the great outdoors. He often comments on being okay with camping instead of staying at an inn, and his skill, survival, shows his resourcefulness, what with him finding better and better items after enemies are killed in battle. He's also protective of his sister Iris and cares a lot about her safety, both in getting to Lestalem and in the brief mission in which she travels with the party. Gladio is a guardian of the Heart of Gold, who only forsakes the party to briefly disappear for some mysterious mission, while the other three head to the Vesper Pool to retrieve Mithril. The character of Gladio has a lot of potential in game, and as was kind of implied in the previous sections, the foundations are clearly there for a compelling character that has the grounds for an interesting arc. But Episode Gladiolus, chronologically, is where the cracks start to show. Now, the premise of the DLC is a really good one. Gladio did just briefly disappear from the party, returning to them with a new scar across his forehead and a massive one across his torso, the latter one being something I know a certain section of the fan base enjoys. The players are naturally wondering what happened, so it's a good section of the game to expand upon. Furthermore, the plot of episode Gladio is really quite interesting, if you only look at the premise. After being bested by Ravus Nox Flore, Gladio wants to get stronger so he can be the best sworn shield possible for Noctis. So he contacts Kor, the leader of the Crown's Guard with the moniker of the Immortal, and asks him to take him to the ruins known as the Tiburon Grounds to challenge a foe known as the Blade Master, someone that we later find out in various medias is Gilgamesh, the sworn shield of the founder king of Lucis, Somnus Lucis Caelum. That all sounds incredible, right? Like we'll get some proper lore for Gladio and that he'll have a good arc that explains his future action in the game? Well, no. Episode Gladio actually doesn't have much story to it at all things considered. That is frankly astounding to me in hindsight of how in-depth the other DLCs are. All episode Gladio is an overglorified dungeon that runs poorly even on the lowest graphic settings. The combat is slow and clunky, and I remember struggling with it a lot the first couple times I played it. But, well, that's not always the worst thing in the world. I'll suffer through bad or boring gameplay and for low frame rate if a game has a good story. But it doesn't. The little story that is there is actually devoted to Kor's backstory, which is cool and all, but this isn't episode Kor. This is episode Gladio. He is who we're wanting to learn more about. Hell, the lore that we're given isn't even given to us in an interesting way. We're just sitting at camp whilst Kor talks at Gladio. When compared to the amazing cutscenes in the other DLCs or the main game, it's just underwhelming. And frankly, I think it starts to show the cracks and pitfalls of how Gladio is handled. So far, I've talked a lot about what I do like about Gladio. But there's something big that comes out later that really rubs me the wrong way. After defying Altissa, the party is at an all-time low. Luna Freya has been killed, Ignis has been blinded, and the party hasn't had a sense of peace or safety in months. They've lost their home, been under constant attack by the Empire, lost friends and family alike. Noctis himself is understandably struggling. In a mere matter of months, he has lost his father, his home, any sense of safety or security that once came of being the Prince of Lucis, and just as he thought that things could get better, Luna Freya, his fiancée and close childhood friend, is murdered. He's left grieving, holding the Ring of the Lucii, understandably wanting to stop in Tenebrae to maybe say a final farewell to Luna. You would think now, of all times, Gladio would be doing his damn best to uphold the party. Just a chapter or so ago, Sid and Kor had this whole speech pointing out that the four aren't so much a royal entourage as they are brothers. They're all meant to have each other's back. You'd think that during the party's lowest moment, the protector of the party would be trying to support them, trying to be the wall to protect the others when the odds are against them. Instead...
Oh. We're gonna roll through Tenebrae.
Not before visiting the royal tomb at Cartanico.
You're sure you're up to that?
The wounds have mended. Eyesight's a matter of time.
The hell is wrong with you?
What?
We're not stopping in Tenebrae. You need to grow up and get over it.
I am over it. I'm here, aren't I?
Maybe when you're not too busy moping, you can look around and give a shit about someone worse off than you.
Let go of me.
How's that ring fit you? You rather carry it around than wear it? She gave her life so you could do your duty, not so you could sit around feeling sorry for yourself.
You don't think I know
You
that?
don't! Ignis took one for you too. And for what?
Enough, Gladio.
You think you're a king, but you're a coward.
Shut up! Don't do this! I get it, all right? I get it!
Then get a grip. Pull your head out of your ass already.
Knocked!
Leave him.
This moment feels out of place. Gladio proceeding to lash out at Noctis for having the audacity to grieve? They've all lost everything. This crash out seems kind of out of place. Blaming Noctis for what happened to Ignis is insane, honestly. Noct was literally fighting a god at the time, and was unconscious when Ignis made a decision to put on the Ring of the Lucii to save Noct's life. It was an act of sacrifice on Ignis's part, and it's pretty clear that he doesn't blame Noctis by any means. Hello, editing Vincent here. Another thing I really want to point out here. Yeah, no shit, Noctis isn't going to be like the perfect, like, king of Lucis. Lucis isn't even here anymore. His dad is dead. His home is like completely eviscerated. Luna Freya just got murdered. They've been on the run from the Empire this entire time, and like repeatedly tracked down and bothered by the Imperial Chancellor. Yeah, Gladio, Noctis isn't gonna be the perfect king right now. No shit. Speaking of the Ring of the Lucii, Gladio being harsh about Noctis not wearing it just doesn't make sense. As a King's Sworn Shield, Gladio would know that wearing the ring takes quite the toll on the wearer. It grants power, but at a dire cost. They've not made it to the Imperial capital. They're on the run as the Empire proves to be more and more dangerous. The nights are getting longer and longer. Demons are becoming more and more of a threat. That is not when you want the most powerful member of your party to be weakened. And then there's the issue again of how he treats Ignis's blindness. We see throughout the next sections that, despite the loss, Ignis doesn't want to be pitied, nor does he want to draw attention to his new disability, which, honestly, is kind of well written. I myself am disabled and grew up in a home with other disabled people in the family. No matter the source of the disability, you don't want to be pitied or viewed as weaker because of it. People drawing attention to one's disability is really uncomfortable, as is being pitied for it. And Gladio proceeds to put all of the blame for Ignis's blindness on Noctis, proceeding to be quite harsh over the next mission. It takes Ignis knocking some sense into everyone's heads to get things to chill out, though Gladio never apologizes. He doesn't gain any character development from this, he just goes back to normal afterwards. This whole conflict feels forced and out of the blue, and ruined both my and a couple of my friends' enjoyment of the character. Gladio's DLC doesn't even give him any reason or explanation for this either. He just lashes out, seemingly out of nowhere. It would have maybe seemed justified if Prompto and Ignis were also mad at Noct, and the party's distrust of each other would have been a neat thing for Arden to use against the party, as we've seen other Final Fantasy villains do. But they're not mad at Noctis. Ignis is sitting quietly by, and Prompto tries to defuse the situation. The worst thing is, I can see this whole interaction working quite well later in the game. In Chapter 11, Noctis is fooled by Arden in a catastrophic way. Some kind of spell ends up in place, making him see Prompto as Arden and vice versa. It's a really, really well done section of the game that I want to go more into in Prompto's video, but all I'll say here is kudos to both voice actors. They did such a good job. But the end of the scene ends with Prompto getting pushed off of a moving train. This could have been a great moment for a scene like the one I've dedicated this section to. Tensions are high, and for all the others know, Noctis went berserk for no reason. We don't get any outside perspectives on that whole sequence. No one comments on Noctis seemingly hunting Prompto down, blaming him for everything, and proceeding to push him off the train. This would have been a good moment for Gladio, the protector of the group, to snap at Noct for getting his friends hurt and not stepping up like a king should. It would have worked, but alas, that's not how the game ended up going. And unfortunately, at least for me and some of my friends, it lessens him as a character overall. He doesn't have much of an arc, running up relatively one note. I love a character who's a gruff, serious person with a heart of gold. A character who'll put themselves in harm's way to defend those they care about at any cost. Those kind of characters are some of my favorites. One of the best examples of this is actually Barrett Wallace from Final Fantasy VII. He's a gruff man, hardened by loss and hardship, willing to do things that can get innocent people killed for the sake of the planet as a whole. But he's not just that. He's passionate, both about his ideals and the people around him. He's the one who's most affected by the fall of the Sector 7 plate. He cares deeply for his daughter and regrets having to leave her alone while he fights Shinra and later Sephiroth himself. He's hard on Cloud at first, but he ends up warming up to him and wants to ensure everyone in the party will be okay. Gladio doesn't have any of that. What do we know about him? 1. He takes pride in being the King's Sworn Shield. 2. He's devoted to protecting the party. 3. He enjoys roughing it out in the wilderness. 4. He's often the straight man in the party's goofiness. And 5. He cares about his sister. That's about it. It feels like a glaring issue in repeat playthroughs. He doesn't have much of an arc or any real character depth, but there's definitely new to discover about him or much thought to put into what he does. Hell, he's even beat when it comes to being devoted to Noctis, as well. Ignis is right there. I wish that there was more to say, but that's all there is to Gladio. Gladio had a lot of potential for character growth and depth, much like the rest of the characters in this game. But with the lack of a character arc and an agonizingly boring DLC to his name, I think he just falls short overall. He's an okay character, not a great one, and when optional characters in other games like Yuffie and Vincent Valentine had more character depth in the PS1 game that came out 19 years before Final Fantasy XV did, it makes him a bit pathetic in hindsight. He's not a bad character by any means, and if you like him, then good for you. But in my opinion, Gladio is a case of wasted potential. But with that, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for the next one, which should hopefully be more optimistic and longer, as I'll be discussing Prompto and his character development over the course of the game and his DLC. If you want to be notified when it's uploaded, be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell down below. And feel free to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.